Writing. The office was almost empty when she sang the words that changed my life, "Take me home with you." I was standing beside the conference table, gathering the last papers of the day, when my secretary, Emma, picked up the microphone at the small company dinner and chose a duet from the old playlist. I expected her to sing something cheerful, something everyone could laugh and dance to. Instead, she looked directly at me and began singing with a trembling voice. The room became strangely quiet. Her eyes were shining with tears, and when she reached the line, "Take me home with you," everyone turned toward me. But what they didn't know was that those words had nothing to do with romance. They were a desperate request from someone who had spent years feeling like she had nowhere to go. My name is Daniel, and at 38, I had become the kind of man people described as successful but distant. I owned a growing technology company, lived in a beautiful apartment, drove an expensive car, and rarely had a reason to worry about money. Yet every evening when I returned home, I walked into a silent apartment and realized how empty success could feel. My wife had died 3 years earlier after a long illness, and although time had taught me how to continue living, it had never taught me how to stop missing her. I buried myself in work because work didn't ask questions. It didn't remind me of empty chairs, old photographs, or birthdays that would never be celebrated the same way again. Emma had worked for me for almost 2 years. She was 29, organized, intelligent, and surprisingly funny when she forgot she was supposed to be professional. She always arrived before me, prepared my schedule, remembered every meeting, and somehow knew when I needed coffee without asking. But there was something about her that I couldn't understand. She never talked about herself. Whenever coworkers discussed families, holidays, or weekend plans, Emma smiled politely and changed the subject. One rainy evening, long after everyone else had left, I found her sitting alone at her desk. The lights were off except for the small lamp beside her computer. She was staring at an old photograph in her hands. When she noticed me, she quickly put it away. "Everything okay?" I asked. She forced a smile. "Yes, sir. Just finishing a few things." I looked at the clock. It was almost 10. "You've been here since 8 this morning." She shrugged. "Some people have homes they want to go to. I have work." The words stayed with me. I didn't ask anything else that night, but from that day forward, I started noticing things I had previously ignored. Emma rarely took vacations. She always refused invitations to company gatherings unless attendance was required. She never ordered expensive food, even when the company paid. And whenever someone asked about her family, a shadow crossed her face. A few weeks later, our company organized a small celebration after we completed an important project. There was food, music, and a karaoke machine that one of the employees had brought as a joke. People were laughing, taking pictures, and singing badly enough to make everyone laugh harder. I was about to leave when Emma walked toward the microphone. "Before you go," she said, looking at me, "will you sing one song with me?" The room erupted in teasing. I laughed awkwardly. "Emma, you know I don't sing." "Neither do I," she replied. "That's why we're perfect for a duet." Everyone cheered, and somehow I ended up beside her. She selected an old emotional song. The music began, and she started singing. Her voice was soft but beautiful. I had never heard her sing before. At first, she looked at the screen, but halfway through the song, she looked at me. There was something in her eyes that made me forget everyone else was watching. Then came the final line. She sang, "Take me home with you." The room fell silent. She lowered the microphone. I didn't know what to say. One of our coworkers awkwardly laughed, thinking it was part of the performance, but Emma didn't smile. Instead, she handed the microphone to someone else and walked outside. I followed her. She stood beneath the building's entrance, staring at the rain. "Emma." She wiped her face quickly. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I shouldn't have done that." "What did you mean?" She remained silent. "Emma, if something is wrong, you can tell me." She finally looked at me. "My father died when I was 16, she said. "My mother raised me alone. Then, 2 years ago, she became seriously ill. We spent everything we had on her treatment. When she died, I discovered that my younger brother had debts I didn't know about. I sold our house to pay them." She paused. "I've been renting a small room ever since." I stared at her. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" "Because I didn't want anyone's pity." Her voice cracked. "And last week, my landlord told me I have to leave. I have nowhere to go." Suddenly, the meaning behind her song became painfully clear. She wasn't asking me to take her home because she wanted a romantic relationship. She was asking because she was scared. I took a breath. "You should have told me. I was afraid you'd think I was trying to take advantage of you." "I don't think that." She looked down. "I know you're my boss. I know there are boundaries. That's why I kept quiet." That night, I offered her a temporary place to stay in my guest apartment, but she refused. "I can't accept that." "It isn't charity," I told her. "It's a solution until you find one." She still refused. So instead of arguing, I offered her something else. I helped her find a safe apartment through a company housing program and arranged an interest-free advance from her salary that she could repay slowly. For the first time, she accepted help without feeling ashamed. But our problems didn't end there. Rumors began spreading around the office. People started whispering that Emma was receiving special treatment because she was close to me. Some even suggested that the duet had been a public confession. Emma became uncomfortable. "I think I should resign," she told me. "No. People are talking. Let them talk. I don't want your reputation damaged because of me." I looked at her and said, "Your life isn't a scandal." She looked away, fighting tears. But there was another problem I hadn't expected. My company's biggest investor began pressuring me to dismiss Emma. He claimed that her personal circumstances were creating unnecessary attention and that a professional company couldn't afford emotional complications. For the first time in years, I had to choose between protecting my business and protecting someone who had trusted me. I refused to fire her. The investor threatened to withdraw his support. The board demanded an explanation. I stood in front of them and said, "If success means abandoning good people when their lives become difficult, then I don't want that kind of success." It was one of the hardest decisions I had ever made. For several weeks, the company struggled. We lost the investor. Some employees became nervous. Emma blamed herself. "You shouldn't have fought for me," she said. "I didn't fight for you because you're my secretary." She looked at me. "I fought for you because you're a person who deserved someone to stand beside you." Those words changed something between us. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. Slowly. Emma became more confident. She started taking control of major projects and eventually discovered that she had a talent for management. I encouraged her to apply for a leadership position in another department, where she would no longer report directly to me. She hesitated. What if I fail? I smiled. What if you don't? Months passed. The company recovered. We found new investors who believed in our vision, and Emma became one of the strongest managers in the organization. Then one evening, almost a year after that karaoke night, I returned to the same restaurant where our company had celebrated that difficult project. Emma was there. She smiled. You remember this place? How could I forget? A musician was playing quietly in the corner. Emma picked up the microphone. Another duet? I laughed. Only if you promise not to surprise me this time. She smiled. The music began. We sang together, but this time there was no sadness in her voice. When the song ended, everyone applauded. Emma looked at me. Daniel, do you know what I meant when I said, "Take me home with you"? I smiled. I think I understand now. She shook her head. I wasn't asking you to give me a house. I was asking for a place where I could feel safe again. I nodded. And you found that place? She smiled. Yes. But I learned something important. What? Home isn't always a building. Sometimes it's the person who reminds you that your life still has value when you've forgotten it yourself. For years, I had believed that helping someone meant giving them something. Money. A job. A roof. A solution. But Emma taught me that sometimes the most powerful thing you can give another human being is dignity. She didn't need someone to rescue her. She needed someone to believe she could rescue herself. And I realized that I had needed the same thing. I had spent years hiding behind success because I was afraid to feel the pain of losing my wife. Emma had spent years hiding behind work because she was afraid of being judged for needing help. We were both pretending to be stronger than we really were. That night, as we walked out of the restaurant, Emma looked at the city lights and smiled. So, she said, where are we going? I looked at her. Home. She laughed. Which one? I smiled. The one we choose. And for the first time in years, the word home didn't sound like an empty apartment. It sounded like hope. Sometimes, the person standing beside you isn't asking you to save them. Sometimes they're simply asking you to remind them that they are worth saving themselves. We all carry battles that other people cannot see. A smile may hide loneliness. Success may hide grief. Confidence may hide fear. And behind a simple sentence, there may be a story nobody knows. So before judging someone, listen. Before walking away, ask. Before assuming someone wants something from you, consider that they may simply need someone to believe in them. Because sometimes one act of kindness can change a life. And sometimes, the person you think you're helping is actually the person who teaches you how to come home.